Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. I am your host, Heidi Schmidt. I am a social media strategist and agency owner, and I am here to give you a deep dive into everything you need to know to feel successful on social media. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit, and this is something that's really been on my mind a lot lately. I've seen a lot of talk about it, and I feel like business owners, whether you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, whether you have a team, whether you're a team of one, is relatable content. What do I mean by relatable content? Because I feel like a lot of people just kind of neglect relatable content. They think that all their content has to have a purpose to drive the business forward. They have to always be selling. And here's the thing. On social media, people don't want to be sold to. They don't want to be sold to. Like, they're going there for entertainment. They're going there to just randomly, mindlessly scroll. They're going there for connections. They're not going there because they want to necessarily buy something. Now, with Instagram shops and TikTok shops and all that fun stuff, yes, there is a buying component, especially in the influencer industry. We're not deep diving into that today because we're not talking about creators who are there to specifically shill cheap shit from China. I'm just gonna throw that out there because I'm sorry. I have the opinion that a lot of influencers who have made their following based on recommendations for Amazon, I don't know. I was a blogger long before the bloggers of today and the influencers of today, and it just makes me feel icky. Now, do I follow influencers? Absolutely, 100%. And I'm going to use this example before I kind of get into what is relatable content and how you incorporate that into your social media strategy as a business owner. Is there's an influencer who's kind of local to me, and she shares fashion, style, all that stuff. I do love me a good relatable fashion style person because I'm always looking for inspiration. I like to shop, not going to lie. She did a partnership with a boutique that's kind of also local to us that sells $300 dresses. Now, I personally am not in the market for $300 dresses. I think my wedding dress probably, and granted this was 15 years ago, probably cost $500. So that's not me. I am not your audience. And then the next post is 5 summer dresses from Amazon. And it's know your audience. Even for influencers, know your audience. I feel like when you do those kind of partnerships, you're just doing it for the money. But we can talk influencer economy and influencer strategies another time. I'm going to do a little bit of research because it's so different from, how you market a business. I have mixed feelings. Anyhow, we're talking about relatable content today. And why do we need relatable content? Is because ultimately our customers, when you are the face of your brand, your customers want to connect with you. They're not just connecting with your brand, and they want to see you. They want to see behind the scenes. They want to connect with you in a more personable, relatable way. For me personally, as an agency owner, I know that 90% of my clients come to me because they are overwhelmed with social media. And you know how I relate to them? I am overwhelmed by social media. I understand their struggles deeply because I too am running a business. I'm up to my ears and up to my eyeballs in client work, and I don't make the time as much to market my agency. So I understand the overwhelm of marketing yourself and putting yourself out there. I know that when I do, I get really good results. So I know that I need to prioritize it better for myself, for my business. So business owner to business owner, take away my social media agency out of it. I understand their struggles deeply. And when I post about that, they relate to me. When I post about the weeks that my child is homesick and wholly overwhelmed Batman because working from home and having a sick child, I know that they relate to that because they've dealt with those challenges too. Granted, a lot of my clients have older kids, but either way, they've been there. They're in the trenches too. So when you think about how your audience relates to you and what that relatability is, like where's the overlap between you and your audience? And when I talk about our audiences, like let's talk about deep diving into our audience personas in a way that like we deep dive and we know their needs, we know what they want, we know what they're looking for, we know what their pain points are, we know what emotions kind of trigger them to make that decision to work with you. That's what I mean by like deep diving into that audience, because that's going to help you determine what is relatable content. And now, when I say relatable content, like you want to foster that sense of connection with your audience. Like, don't shy away from the struggles. Yes, social media is a highlight reel, but don't shy away from sharing the behind the scenes, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that's tip number one of sharing relatable content. Like share those behind the scenes moments. Share, 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 share. Whether it's, your messy workspace, whether it's a candid moment, talking about the challenges that you're facing, talking about how like your need for self-care. We all have that need. These little snippets of your day, your life, whatever, they make you relatable as a business owner. Sharing your team's accomplishments, that's a big thing. So thinking about how you can humanize those behind the scenes moments and share those with your audience, they just kind of allow them to connect with you. They allow them to celebrate with you, to, hey, I feel that. You want to talk about the overwhelm of getting ready for vacation? Like, I guarantee you there are going to be 10 people who are going to comment on that post and be like, oh my God, I need a vacation too. Oh my God, I feel you so much. That's what I mean by sharing the behind the scenes moments. Find ways to have those meaningful conversations, whether it's asking for opinions, creating polls, doing Q&A sessions, going on Instagram Live and having a Q&A session. Involve your followers so that they kind of like buy in. They buy into what you're offering. If you're thinking about a new service, ask them like, "Hey, would this be helpful? Would this be something that you would invest in for your business?" If you're like considering a new service or a new product or something like that, like poll your audience to find out if it's one, something that they're going to be interested in, and two, like what's going to be most helpful to them. When you share like, hey, let's have a conversation about this. I'm thinking about doing this. And especially if you're like, oh my God, people are going to buy this. And I'm speaking from personal experience because I've been thinking about doing a course. But, when I look at all the social media courses out there, they're generally geared toward other social media managers. And that's not my market. That is not my audience. I have built a network of other social media managers that I can either refer to or that I can tap into as content creators. And I love them. I love them dearly. However, I don't have an offer for them. And I don't want to because there are so many people that do it that dime a dozen, dime a dozen people. But that being said, would a course for other business owners on how to be successful on social media, develop a social media strategy, that's something that I have been like, has been deeply rooted in my anxiety. Like, I want to do this, but are people going to actually buy it? If you have had that struggle with creating an offer or doing something new in your business, can we chat? But talk about those challenges and, share the failure, share the things that, like, as business owners, running a successful business is not just like point A to point B. Like, there are so many other points along the way that we can all relate to. So, whether you're like B2B or B2C, everyone has challenges, everyone stumbles, everyone learns from those challenges. So, highlight those lessons because the vulnerability, being vulnerable with your audience, allows them to foster that connection with you. And when I think about the vulnerability of people that I've done business with, like my business coach or a coach that I've worked with in the past, when they're vulnerable with their audiences, like that's when I connect with them most. Like, oh, I feel that deeply. Like they get me. They get me, they get my challenges, like they've been there too. That's like the beauty in sharing the human side of your business, sharing the humanity of all of us. Share different content formats. Not everyone is on social media. And we've had conversations about email marketing and the importance of it. And I think it's important to recognize that not everyone is on every platform. So say you're putting out a vlog or even a blog or an email newsletter or something like that, like diversifying those content formats acknowledges that you see that your audience isn't always where you are. You've got to kind of be mindful about how your audience uses, I'm going to use internet, how they use the internet, how they digest content. Like, are they people that are on social media or do they not have time for it? I have a client who their audience is on LinkedIn. They're not super engaged. However, my client also hears all the time at trade shows, oh, we love your social media. So they're not the type of people that are necessarily going to engage with content on social media, but they're going to be there and they're going to see them and they're going to remember them for that. So be mindful about the content formats that you're putting out there and other ways that you're reaching out to your audience that aren't just on Instagram. I had a former client of mine and she's really grown her business in different formats online. She owns a retail shop. And when she started diversifying, like really kind of leaning into her email list, her like online sales went through the roof because not everyone sees you on social media. And guarantee, like, if they're also running a business, especially if you're B2B, chances are like they don't have time to see all of your content every day. So making sure that like you are showing up in multiple places because that also shows the relatability. Like you relate that they're not always doom scrolling on Instagram. And I've talked about this before, but embrace your imperfections. I love when businesses, especially ones that are very active on Reels, and there is a perfect example of a video content creator who does Reels for local businesses. Like she shares blooper Reels and they're magical. And I love them. And it shows the human side of these brands that she's working with. I eat it up personally. Like I think it's great. So embrace those imperfections and share the blooper reels. Like, why wouldn't you? You know, if you just did a big launch, like share the mistakes in a blog post, you know, X number of lessons that I learned from this launch or things like that. They really, really demonstrate that you're not trying to be perfect. No one's perfect. We know that. So sharing the imperfect, like don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I had a boss that used to tell me that. And he also used to say, like, we're not curing cancer here. It's not the end of the world if a post doesn't go out. It's not. It's not. I'm posting to Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn for my clients. Like, it's not the end of the world if a post goes out at 9 a.m. or 3 p.m. And obviously, I hold a very high quality for my content creators and for the work that we put out. But I also know that, like, life happens. And when we don't get it right, we own up to it, you know, own up to it with your clients and tell them why you didn't get it right. Whatever. You know, last month I dropped a lot of balls and you know why? Because I put my cat down. And it was a really, really rough like two weeks there for me. And it just, you know, but ultimately, like I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not a neurosurgeon. We're not curing cancer with social media or email marketing. And I mean, that being said, like, yeah, it's someone's bottom line. So we try to do the best that we can, but life happens. So sharing those life happen moments with your audience, like, hey, maybe you didn't show up on social media for a week and because you were really busy or because you had a car accident or something and you were dealing with life. Sharing those life moments just makes you that much more relatable. Share them. Please, please, like stop the highlight reel. Stop the highlight reel. Those human moments, they just make it really, really impactful. And they show that one, you're not always selling and you don't always care about what the bottom line and making money. Like you're there to connect with your audience and you're there to connect with your followers and you care about them as people, not just how much money is in your pocket. And I think that's really, really powerful from one business owner to another. That's just me. Anyhow, that's kind of some of my favorite ways to be relatable with your audience. And here's another way to be relatable is don't force it. If you're just showing up for the sake of showing up because you feel like you have to, that's when it just feels inauthentic. It feels forced. It feels like, ugh. Yes, yes. Consistency is 100% important, but like you're not going to lose your followers if you don't show up every day. Like I've been quite frank in previous episodes that like my goal for me, and I own a social media agency, I don't even show up every day because I'm the one that does all my social media. And, sometimes it just doesn't happen. We're human. And when we expect too much from ourselves, that's when the quality suffers. And that's when we get disconnected from our audience. And when we show up in super real ways, then that's when the magic happens. That's when we garner the new followers. That's when we get the good engagement. That's when we make the sale. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And finally, just keep it simple. If you're wondering, like, well, how often do I need to have relatable content? Content that's not there to serve a purpose that drives your business forward. Like, obviously, you don't want all of your content to be that relatable content because that's not what's going to drive your marketing goals. I think if you don't overthink it, and for one of my clients, like, she'll occasionally pop in and she'll post something and it gets really good engagement. It performs so, so well. And it allows her to have the ability to be super creative and relatable. Like all of those posts that she puts out when they're on her heart, those are the relatable posts. And we are here to keep her consistent so she doesn't have to overthink it. And we're here to drive the business forward and share the value of things. But when she shows up and she just posts from her heart, like fully engagement, Batman. So don't overthink it. There is social media strategy, and obviously there's a place in every social media strategy for relatable content. There is. Just don't overthink it. And if you're going through a launch and it's really hard, like share about your launch. Absolutely. You want people to buy whatever it is you're selling, your new course, your new digital product, whatever it is. But if you share a little bit from behind the scenes, that's the relatable content, and that's where the magic happens. So keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Share the imperfects and make the connections and diversify your content formats. I think those are the best ways to make that relatable content that's just really going to be so much more impactful on social media. And more impactful, when I say more impactful, I mean like that connection building content. That's all for today. Again, I would love to connect on social media. Connect with me on Instagram, on Facebook, visit my website. If you'd like to schedule a strategy session, I will drop a link. And I'm also going to drop a link to my strategy planner, which is a free download. And it just kind of walks you through what you need for your social media strategy. So that's all for today. Leave a review, subscribe, share, all the things. And I will be back next week with more tips to stop the scroll. Bye now.